Today I want to talk success and I want to talk failure because there's been a few lessons that I've learned here over the years when it comes to cover crops and seeding them. To start, I want to tell you the baseline principle or the context for what I'm doing here. So the beds like you see behind me, right now their primary function is chicken forage. I seed them with various cover crops throughout the year. I graze the chickens on them and I rotate the chickens along a series of runs. I'll make a future video on that at some point in the future here. Now, seeding the cover crop has been the big challenge. Typically what I'm doing, I'm not using a seeder, I'm just broadcasting the seed out there. And you think broadcasting seed, that's easy, it's simple. I've never had good luck with it. I don't know the right technique. I've tried pounding it in with a rake, I've tried raking over it, I've tried different things and I've never had great success just broadcasting seed out for cover crop. If you have a good way of doing that, leave a comment below because I'd love to know. I'm still trying to figure that one out, as simple as it may sound. Over the years, one of the big problems has been inconsistent germination. I don't know why. I think part of that is due to soil coverage, part of that is due to soil moisture. The other problem I'm having when it comes to seeding cover crops is birds, wildlife coming in, mice picking the seeds and taking away a lot of the seeds that I'm putting down. So I set out about a year ago to really try and stop the above pressure from the birds taking the seed because there's a lot of them here and they were picking out a lot of the seed. I was getting about 50% germination. It wasn't working for me. Seed's expensive. I wanted to figure out a way to fix that. So my first solution was to go with typical Agribon or Remay. Now this has its uses, but to cover a crop isn't really one of them. For one, this stuff, it just rips, it falls apart, it flakes, you get little bits of this crap everywhere. It's not really the best solution. I was stapling it down because to weight it down, it's kind of a pain. But you know, anytime you put a staple through Agribon or Remay, whatever you want to call it, it just provides a hole for a tear point, it tears. Wasn't gonna work. The next thing I tried was your garden store variety landscape fabric. Now this is a basic fabric, much like the Agribon. It's more fabric than woven. So what does that mean? It rips, it tears, it punctures easily. This roll I think at Home Depot was maybe $5, didn't work. I'm struggling now. Like I really want to be able to cover these, again, to preserve moisture and to prevent the bird pressure. I was looking around at solutions, trying to find things online. What could I do? The next thing I ended up going with, and this worked really well, but there's some cons with it, I'll get to the cons after, was put the cover crop down and then cover it with a layer of alfalfa. Why? The alfalfa was doing a few things. It was holding the moisture in the soil. It was providing some nitrogen to the soil because alfalfa is a nitrogen fixer. It was keeping the birds off of it, or at least mitigating the bird disturbance. It was making it a little harder for the birds to come in and do the seeds. And it was adding organic matter to the top of the soil, which is what I want. It was building soil. You get a lot of biology like worms and pill bugs come under that. So when the chickens came in, they just scratch it up. And by the time the chickens ran through the run, ate the cover crop, there was no alfalfa left to be seen. It was really just building soil that way. And that's similar to what Greg Judy's talked about. He'll talk about finding somebody who's trying to get rid of a bunch of old round bales, roll them out on your pasture, let the cattle trample it in, and that's a way of building organic matter. So I was trying to apply that to a very, very small scale here, and it worked well. Now, what are the cons of that? Number one, alfalfa around here, it's expensive if you're buying it onesie twosies, which I am. I'm not getting round bales delivered. I'm not buying it by the 50 square bale, so I'm paying 15, 16, 17 bucks for a bale of alfalfa. It's conventional. I don't like that. Also, it's imported from the Imperial Valley where their water's scarce, and I really don't like the embodied water in that alfalfa, but I'm trying to kind of put my ideology in my back pocket, as Curtis would say, look past that and say, I'm building soil here. If a little bit of water gets used in the process, so be it. I'm trying to create a long-term change here, and one way to also get that change out is through videos like this. So I was looking past that. And it worked well at the end of the day, but again, expensive. I have to store the bales, I have to keep them dry for when it does rain, the mice get in them. It's a little bit of a nuisance, not the ideal thing, and it's not reusable, sustainable. That was my solution up until maybe 6 months ago when I did a podcast with the brilliant Jodi Roebuck from Roebuck Farm over in New Zealand. If you want to listen to that podcast, it's the Urban Farmer Season 2, Episode 32. I'll link to that below. And what Jodi talked about in that episode was using shade cloth to do what I'm doing, to solve that exact problem. And that's what I've gone to do. Jodi talks about using 70% shade cloth to cover his crops. So what am I using here? Essentially that, shade cloth. It works well. Now, how percentage-wise, how much does this shade cloth reduce? Where is this on the scale? Is this 70%? Is it 80%? I don't know. I got it for free on Craigslist and it works. The good thing about it, it's permeable. It doesn't tear. It won't fray or rip. Like these cut edges, the way this is constructed, it's melted together, so it doesn't unfray and unravel like if you cut a woven blanket. It holds together really well. The birds can't pick through it. Mice can't scratch through it or chew through it easily, at least. So it's provided a good solution. It holds a little bit of moisture in because there's some obstruction here, as you can see. I like it. It's a good solution. I think it's infinitely scalable. You could scale this down to the small garden bed size, and it's also scalable to a market garden size. You could have a 100-foot roll of this and put it over a bed, no problem. This stuff will last forever. It's plastic, but the good thing about it is it's plastic means it's cheap and it's gonna last. It's UV treated, it's not gonna fall apart. I've been using this free piece now for the last 3 or 4 months, and it's fine. You just roll it up at the end of the day. If you're in any sort of ag area like I am in northern San Diego, there's a lot of this stuff around. When people rip down old shade houses, greenhouses, you might be able to find it. It works really well. So credit to Jodi Roebuck, again, from Urban Farmer Season 2, Episode 32. I'll talk more about Jodi in a future episode because he's really influenced what I'm doing here and really changed the course of what I'm doing here. He's brilliant. He studied under John Jevons, but I'm giving all credit to this to him, and it works really well. So try that. Now, the other fabric that I think might work well are some of the more expensive landscape fabrics. Curtis uses Sunbelt. We talk about that a lot on the Urban Farmer. A lot of the farmers and market gardeners you hear will be using a fabric like Sunbelt. It's similar to shade cloth in that it's a woven product, but it's kind of a fused woven. So when you cut it, it doesn't fray, it doesn't unravel. The thing I don't know, because I've never used Sunbelt, is I don't know what the water permeability is. If you hose over or sprinkle over Sunbelt, I don't know how easily the water penetrates through it. So if you're using that, leave a comment below, let me know. I'll also link to the Sunbelt fabric, which is pretty readily available if you're curious to using that. And the good thing about that is that you could use that for multiple things. You could use it in a situation like I'm using, potentially, again, I think it'll work. And then you could also use it to plant lettuce in, punching holes through it, put your lettuce starts in it. So overall, it's a great system and it's worked. Now, the tragedy in all this, like this is the success side of this video. The failure side of this video is this crop right here. It's really poor germination, and I'm not exactly sure what happened here. I'm seeding all this out right now with two things. I have a mix of daikon and mustard cover crop that I got from Peaceful Valley Farm Supply. That goes into one of the runs. That's in the run kind of behind me that you can't see. This run got Peaceful Valley's Budget Soil Builder mix, which is bell beans, field peas, vetch, and oats. I seeded that probably 10, 12 days ago. In germination, maybe 10%. It's a total failure. I'm not sure if mice got involved. I'm not sure if all the rain we had, the seed rotted and never had a chance to germinate. I'm not sure if I just did a poor job of covering the seed with soil. Again, broadcasting cover crop seed problems. So I don't know what happened here. The disappointing thing about this is it's costed me a lot of time. I have a limited number of runs here, so I need crops cover crops to germinate on schedule, because that keeps my rotation schedule for the chickens on track. Now I could put the chickens in here, but within an hour, not even, within 10 minutes, they're on bare dirt, and I keep them in here for a week. So this poor germination thing has cost me time. It's critical to have solutions, you know, like the landscape fabric for me, to ensure good germination, to ensure good crop growth for the chickens, and to keep my rotation on schedule and not screw things up. So this loss of time, it hurts a little bit. You know, on a positive side, I'm not in production here, so I can't complain too much. It is fun, it's recreational. I'm not gonna let this ruin my day. And the other thing is, I'm in the process of changing around all this chicken system you see. I'm redoing it, I'm trying to put in some permanent pathways. I'll do another video on that coming up. But today, the point I wanted to get across is, you can play around for a long time until you find a solution that works. For me, the solution to protecting cover crop seeds on my scale and my context comes from Jodi Roebuck. It's using shade cloth to protect the seeds from birds, to keep some moisture in. Works really well. Give it a try on your land. I think you'll like it. Thanks for watching. Until next time, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.